Welcome to Everything is For You podcast. Today's episode is called From Heartbreak to Healing. Everything for You podcast is a place to discuss life, love, heartache, frustration, grief, joy, happiness, growth, enlightenment, and every other emotion or subject that can reach out and help others that might be going through similar experiences or challenges. We do deep dives with these topics from different perspectives that are grounded in spirituality. And you don't have to be spiritual to connect to these topics or our guests. These are about growth and evolving. Today's topic is heartbreak and pain and how it can fuel drastic change for the good, how moving through darkness can lead to the light, how something so painful at times you think that you absolutely will never feel good again can absolutely create the most positive change in your life. I'm your host, Kristen Holt, and a little bit about me. I live in Los Angeles and I've been a content producer for over 20 years. A year and a half ago, my ex-wife broke my heart and I've been dealing with the painful divorce. I decided to quit my job and take that money that I had saved and invested in me for once. My pain fueled my mission to create new businesses, which is Conscious Path Content. And then this podcast, Everything is For You. My intention is to serve others and to grow, learn, and remember. And we are right here, right now in this moment. And so here it begins. And I want to introduce my amazing guest co-host. She's an angel on earth. She's my angel on earth, one of my best friends and a life coach extraordinaire, Danielle Dailey. Hi, Danielle.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I feel honored and blessed. Obviously, to share any kind of space with you is amazing. So I really appreciate the invitation to be on your first ever podcast and get to share some really cool stuff with your listeners.
Well, thank you. You being here is very special to me. It means the world to me for so many reasons, which we're going to cover inside of here. But before we go down into this exciting conversation that we've actually been having for the last year and a half, I wanted to talk to you a bit about you. You are a certified life coach in the law of attraction and a licensed Heal Your Life teacher. Yes. You've been published, you've won awards. And the reason that I say all this is because I really want people to get to know who you are. You've helped so many people change their lives, including myself. And I would truly not be the person I am today without your 10 plus years of coaching and 20 plus years of beautiful friendship and your consistent support, which includes kicking my ass at sometimes.
Yes, it
does. So I would love you to tell our listeners a little about yourself and about the style of coaching that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Quite honestly, the same thing that got me into this is pretty much what the topic is today. I was at a rock bottom living in LA, and I was spiritually knocked down, financially knocked down, emotionally knocked down, physically knocked down. I had really hit the bottom, and a book presented, which, by the way, many books had presented. Yeah. And every time I read a book, I just felt even more lost because I couldn't wrap my head around the messages, and everyone would say, oh, this book changed my life. It certainly did not. It just made me more confused and then ultimately more upset and more lost. But this book, this particular book, You Can Heal Your Life from Louise Hay, it just resonated in a way that I had never experienced. Not only was it like really, really simple reading, but she also gave us a lot of tools and techniques, or she gives her readers that. And I went for it. And that was 21 years ago. Or no, sorry. Oh my gosh, my daughter's 22. It was 22 years ago because I was pregnant with my second baby. And fast forward, about 12, 13 years ago, I was honored to be licensed and certified to teach her work out in New Zealand. Or that's where I was trained. And so now I'm here and I'm doing it. And I took that education, I went further, and the law of attraction is very interesting to me, and all the science behind things is very interesting to me. So I've taken multiple courses since then. And yeah, I'm just excited. And my niche with coaching is all about self love and
Mhm.
the relationship with yourself. Most folks don't have a good one, you
No,
know?
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's funny because um, it is about the style of teaching you do is about self love. And I remember when I first started with you, and you had me start with the mirror work, and I was like, what? What is? You asked me a question. It was really, and you said, and I was single at the time, and you said, who do you love more than anybody in the whole world? And I was like, oh, Chico, my dog, um, Trina, you, and you could let me go on like with, a couple other people. And you were like, well, where's yourself in there? And I was like, oh, what? Huh? What does that mean? Yeah. So a lot has shifted and changed since then. But yeah, I mean, look, I think the new generation, your daughter's generation, it's different. I think a
Yeah.
lot of them are being, because you and other people in our generation are teaching them. But our generation and our parents who are victims of victims,
Hmm.
so all of that, we didn't know, and we had to find it. We're kind of like these later bloomers, but it took us a little longer, but we're here now, and that's what's important.
Girl, you just nailed it. We are here now. And I believe that we're here now by purpose. It's by
Hmm.
design. And, if our heartache and our ass kicking and us falling to pieces has led us to this point, there you go. I mean, there's the
Yeah,
purpose right there. And then to be able to have this ability and a platform to share that with others and lift others to whatever capacity it is for them, it's a gift that keeps giving,
yeah.
and to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, you're right. We weren't raised that way.
Hmm.
If we looked in the mirror too long, it was, you're vain. What are you doing? Stop staring at yourself. There was no talk of any kind of
Yeah.
relationship with myself except negative messaging. And I took those negative
Well,
messages as a child and I literally ran with it.
yeah.
You know? So,
Which is one of the reasons I wanted you as the very first guest host. And you know I thought this episode would be a great episode for the listeners to kind of get to know me, get to know you, and what I've gone through to get to where I am here, because a lot of what I'm my purpose and serving right now has a lot to do with heartache, and you've known me through all of my challenges, through, I mean, 20 plus years of challenges. And I wanted to talk about pain that I recently went through with my divorce and deep dive into what heartbreak and heartache is,
yeah.
the stages, the process. I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to get vulnerable with my listeners and let them, really like share my story, because maybe there's something in this story that can trigger somebody going through a similar situation, that can help them. Because I know when I was in it, I was searching for this kind of content to help me, and I did find some, and that's what gave me the spark, to move forward with this. And I really believe through every challenge, we are like that lotus flower in the darkness of the mud, growing to blossom into the light, even when we do not feel it. Because as
Yes.
you know, I didn't feel it at all.
Yeah.
There was days I was just like, what? Nah, nothing matters. It's all this, I'm a very positive, optimist. And boy, I saw some darkness and did this to you.
Well, I could handle it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was grateful to be there because even though I knew you were in a lot of pain and you were going through it, deeply going through it, and I certainly wasn't going to go, you're fine. I think a lot of people, just a sort of side note, I think a lot of people think that, this kind of lifestyle means that you're constantly positive and, shooting, rainbows out of your ass.
Yeah.
It's not the case. We're
No.
human. We're having a human experience, right? So that means we're offered all kinds of emotions and ups and downs and twists and turns, you know, not telling you like you're fine or it's going to be okay and let's talk positive. I knew how important it was for you to feel that pain,
Yeah.
but behind the curtains, I knew I was holding the space that this is all happening for you and it was all
Hmm.
happening for your highest good and for your highest path. And here we are today. So I just want to make sure your listeners understand that it's really important to give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling on those dark days like you were having, and having someone that's like a positive poly behind you, it may not,
Yeah.
it may backfire, so if you are there to support somebody going through something, but you want to encourage them to be positive, maybe just do it in your own head. I'm holding the space for
Yeah.
them, to work through this and not maybe, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
yeah, you were going through it,
I really, it really was. Um, it was,
maybe.
but I was also very blessed because I have a beautiful group of
Yes.
women in my life, and I'm very blessed with friendships, and I put together that text group, and I called
Yes.
it my sister tribe.
Yes.
And so I created a text group of my sister tribe. And anytime that I was just like really dark or just needing, like, I could just go and text whatever I needed to text to this. Like, I think there was like 8 of us in this group. And the love that came back from that was very, very helpful. And, yeah, it really helped me a lot. And, not everybody has a lot of different, like a big group. So, but whatever kind of support somebody can get, even if it's one human, to have that when you are feeling that, just text them, reach out. That's what I say, because I made an effort to reach out, because I can go dark and I can go silent, and I can, like, definitely just be there. And also, there's going to be, I went through a lot of days where I couldn't get off the couch, I couldn't get out of bed, like I went, I really went, I was just like, what the hell. And at the beginning of my breakup, I was working a crazy job. I was working
I remember.
I was running a production, and a very large production, and I had a lot of responsibility. I think that kept me moving forward a lot. Like, there was several months where I wasn't really dealing with the pain, and I was just like working, 60
Mhm.
plus hours a week. And then weekends were really hard, and I was drinking and texting my ex. Why? So
Yeah.
those, and then finally, I woke up. I literally remember I woke up one Saturday. I remember this so clearly. And I was not happy at work. I was not happy. Obviously, I was going through divorce and sadness. But I remember looking in the mirror and, like, looking at myself and going, what the
Mm.
hell am I doing? What am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I'm done. I'm quitting my job, and I'm going to go find a new, because, like, it's time. It's time to go and find a new. So I literally, the next, like, that Monday, I put in my resignation, and 3 weeks later, I was free. And I started traveling the world and trying to find my purpose, and what my life looked like, with our family being broken up like that. So, which is not my family anymore, which is also a head trip and head fuck,
Yeah.
because that is. And so, one of the questions I have, I guess, for you, and I don't, like, you deal with a lot of people going through different challenges, a lot of different experiences, with grief and
Mhm.
heartbreak. I know that all your
Mhm.
clients are not going through heartbreak. Obviously, they're going through different things, but the ones that do go through this kind of grief and heartache, um, what do you see consistently in their struggle?
That's such a great question. You know, and this is going to sound a little off, but it'll make sense. Um, we're kind of raised, especially as women, to think and believe that there's somebody outside of us let's go back to being little and reading Cinderella and Snow White and all these fairy tales. It's always about having your beautiful dress, looking beautiful. The prince will come, take you away, and then you live happily ever after. I have a granddaughter, and so it really hit me when I was reading all of these to her a few years ago, and I was like, "Shit, we're literally like, we're teaching without realizing that this is the way. Like, we're not teaching women or men too. By the way, I work with men and women. I love working with men too. But specifically back in our generations, for sure, it was like you have to find somebody outside of you to make you feel whole. You have to find somebody to make you happy. And I would say that's the common denominator with anybody that I'm working with that's going through like a breakup or a divorce or some sort of seeking out a companion or a relationship and they can't find one. It's remembering that you have it all inside of you. It's like find your person after you found yourself, finding yourself and feeling solid. Now we've found somebody outside of us. Now they just add to us. They're not making us whole or,
Yeah.
becoming our full heart, because a lot of folks are under that
Yeah,
impression.
there was something we talked about this before, but there's something in lack of my memory, and I don't have it in my notes here, but there's something about love, like when you fall in love with somebody and you get excited and you have that thing
Endorphins.
that those endorphins, but
Uh-huh.
it's really a mirror reflecting back what you're giving them, and
Right.
then that energy is meeting. Yeah, I think that the one thing I feel like with the people I've talked to that have gone through heartache, it's you know finding the way to let go. And I know you hate that word, let go, but
I don't hate anything really.
no,
I try, but it does trigger me. I'll say that.
yeah,
Yes, it does.
yeah. I
Letting
mean,
go,
yeah, like moving on from that relationship, and
finding freedom.
finding freedom. That's yes, like finding freedom um is like for me, like that is like very challenging. It always has been. I know that when that we're
Mhm.
not going to go into that whole thing, but I have some inner child work that I need to deal with, to heal that little girl that felt all of those things that I
Yes.
have not
Yes.
done yet, which I'm in the process of. It's interesting how something can feel so good and then feel so bad.
Well, there's the yin and yang, right? The black and the
Yeah.
white. I mean, it's sort of
Yeah.
like that. To know love, you have to know pain. To know pain, you have to know love.
Yeah.
I also sort of wanted to like to be, to kind of also add to your question, what's the common thread? It's that I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, or nobody loves me. I mean, there's these programmed messaging that we've
Hmm.
got going on that, when a relationship ends, I think some of your darkest times through that, you probably had your own version of I'm not good enough, or, you know, uh, why don't they love me?
Hmm.
And I think to kind of also go off of what you were saying, it is messaging from our childhood. It is,
It is. It definitely is. I've definitely, because when I quit my job, one of the things I did was I started like 8 hours a day. As you know, I was just like devouring any knowledge I
Mhm.
could get on because I'm a spiritual human, so I really was practicing meditation, breath work, EFT tapping, which you got me
Mhm.
into, which has really helped me in a lot of cases.
Yes.
But I really dedicated myself to devouring knowledge,
Yes.
and trying to find my purpose, to find my new. And then I started traveling. I decided to go to Colombia and do ayahuasca in a retreat, and that changed my whole life. Like, and I would say everybody has to be called to do something like ayahuasca, so it's we don't need to go into that right now, but that's everybody that does is interested, they should definitely do their own homework, and they should follow all of the rules and everything that somebody says about ayahuasca, because there, you got to be in the right state of mind in a way to be able to handle some of the things. So just wanted to say that before I went forward.
Little disclaimer, yes.
Yes,
Yeah, you're not
yes.
promoting everyone to run out and do that. You're saying if you're feeling a pull or a
And
nudge
the
to
calling,
do
yeah,
your, yeah,
do your due diligence for sure,
yeah.
and then follow what the guides say. They say this for a reason, their experience. But they say that if mother ayahuasca calls to you is when you get called to go. And I got called. I went to Colombia, and I was really in the thick of my heartbreak during this time. And I remember when I was there, I had no idea what I wanted to do with the rest of my life anymore, because the film industry was not motivating me. I couldn't even imagine going and doing another movie. Like, I was just like, it just didn't, like, I didn't have that passion that I used to have when I was a young filmmaker. And I realized a few things. I realized that I had been stagnant for a lot longer than I thought I had been stagnant. I looked back and I was like, I don't remember like the last 5-6 years. I was happy in my marriage, but I wasn't happy in my job. And I just kept doing it because I made good money, and I knew how to do it, and I was good at it. But I wasn't really happy, and I didn't realize that until I was going through this thing. And that retreat really changed me in a lot of ways. It opened up my mind, and the ayahuasca trip was amazing. And then we went to dinner after I stayed in Colombia longer, and I went to dinner with my guides after the trip was done. And they were like, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. All I know is that I want to make content that matters, that is like that teaches people, that hits people's heart, that touches and helps people on their journey, maybe awakens them. And he's like, you want to make conscious content? And I'm like, yes, I want to make conscious content. and and I was like, yeah. And I was thinking of like all the ways I could do that, but it was still felt so far away. It still felt, what does that mean? What does that look like? But I was like, yes, I want to make conscious content. I did not know how to make it happen. And I came home and I was still like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just kept traveling and doing and moving and going and meditating and doing all these things to finally get to where I am now, which is now with a business partner, Basil, and I, who we've been working together forever. We created Conscious Path Content. It's a content marketing media agent, full service agency. But we're working, we're working with people that are walking the conscious path. And then this podcast was really, important to me, because I feel like this podcast can reach a lot of people, also either interested in walking the conscious path, or at least have some kind of interest in evolving, healing, evolving. And so that year and a half of me doing this, it led me to here, to now. And I'm excited about what's going on now. Doesn't mean I still don't have hard times and those kind of things. But I think that one of my lessons here was about staying stagnant. I think you and I talked about this. Most of us don't realize how stagnant we stay, and then we just live in this bubble.
Yeah.
And we're not
It's
growing.
it's like a robotic state of mind. You had shared with me, and I hope it's okay to share.
Yeah, you can share anything you want.
You said to me, when I think you had this light bulb moment, you said, oh my gosh, my past motivation was always for someone else. Like, you were motivated to work to support your ex-wife. You were motivated to work to have the things to be able to support and take care of, and then when it was just you, I think, it took you a minute. You had that kind of grace period where you were like, I my motivation was always attached to helping somebody else, and now it's just me, and I'm struggling to find that motivation. And I think what you did was so commendable and very relatable to a lot of people. I think, again, kind of going back to that, someone outside of me is going to make me feel happy. Well, someone outside of you was taking on that motivation inside of yourself. And it's like, once you were sitting with just you were forced to kind of take ownership of that and be responsible and say, you know what? I want to do good. I want to do really good in life for me for the first time, at least for the first time in a really long time.
Yeah.
Again, we've been friends for almost 30 years. So I really appreciate where you're at today. And again, in those darkest moments when you were really struggling, and I would secretly and sometimes share out loud that I knew
Yeah.
that this was happening for you, this was always the future feeling thought around where I knew you were going to go. You
Yeah.
had to go through what you went through. It sucked. Let me tell your listeners too, it sucks when you see someone that you care about and you love going through pain. Most every breakthrough all of us have ever had has been through something painful.
Yeah.
Our biggest leap of growth, our biggest lesson to be learned. Whenever a client says, oh, why is this happening? Or I'm like, this is just a golden opportunity. This is a golden
Yeah.
opportunity to be there for yourself, to support yourself, to learn how to be in that relationship with yourself that we all do so much better with. I mean, quite honestly,
There was that one poem. It's this. I don't know who this person is, but her name is Marina J. She said on my Insight Timer app, it was rejection is protection from a timeline that you are not meant to be on. Trusting
Ooh,
divine timing and lessons for our soul to evolve. So
there you
it's
go.
yeah, it is. I mean, but when you're in it, that like, I mean, I remember so many days where I'm like, because I do my walk every day and I'm grateful. I do all my gratitudes and everything. And I remember telling you, I was like, I am not grateful. I don't give a shit. I'm like, I was just like, not like, I was just kind of like, fuck you, everybody and everything. And then immediately, like later that day, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I didn't mean it. I just had to say it. I felt better. But
Which, by the way, you're allowed to do a big fat F you occasionally.
I
That's
know,
fine.
I know, I know.
It's actually healthy. It's important. And I'm sure I've said this to you too. Hey man, it's okay to wobble. It's okay to
Yeah,
wobble.
yeah,
You're always going to go back to center. It's like the Weeble wobble,
100. Yeah,
and then boom, back to the center. So it's okay. Wobble around. Sometimes I
yeah,
give myself full permission to wobble.
yeah.
It's great.
No, I know it's important. I mean, one
But
of the yeah.
anyone that knows you, not to be anyone that knows you and loves you knows that you are dramatic. So it was it was pretty adorable. And I'll just say for your listeners, you, my friend, my dear friend, were probably the most resistant client I've ever worked with, especially from the beginning.
In the beginning, yeah, I think in the
We
beginning, yeah,
often laugh
yeah.
about that.
Well, the one beautiful thing about you and your life coaching is like, you'll say something to me like in like a year to 2 years later, I'll come back and be like, I know you said this like several years ago, but I get it now. I get it. And because sometimes it just doesn't resonate with me
Uh-huh.
at that time, and then later I go, oh, like I'm way too embarrassed to tell about the Louise Hayes book, so I'm
Oh,
not going to tell about that. But what I will say is that I will never say never again. Like I will always, like, what I've changed about myself a lot is if somebody asks me to look at something a different way, a different perspective, I will absolutely. My mind is very open now, and
yes.
that took a long time to get to where who am I to be. I don't have blinders on anymore, and not to say that I don't have resistance at some things, because there is resistance built into our like subconscious, but I know that I'm releasing all of that resistance, You know, right now my whole thing is flow. I want to just go with flow.
Yeah.
I want to be as least resistant as humanly possible. And I want to be very open with my heart and with my mind. You know, the way that we are running this business is heart centered. Like everything I'm
Beautiful.
doing in my life is heart centered. We had a client recently that, you know, could be a good client, but they just, you know, they haven't, they've been challenging to communicate with, and, you know, missing meetings and that kind of stuff. And I told Basil the other day, I was like, we have been chasing things our whole career, like the next job, the next client, the next whatever. I'm like, I'm done. If the
Good.
client isn't, if it's not, it doesn't flow to us easily and effortlessly, then I don't want them.
I'm
And
so proud of you. No,
yeah,
that's really important. And I'm going to just sort of elaborate a little bit too, so that people really can sink in what your messaging is. The resistance is really an ego, right? The
Mhm.
resistance is our ego driven. And this flow that you're talking about is coming from more of a trust space,
Mhm.
and chasing after a potential client. Same with me. I learned just like you the hard way. I'm very choosy on who I work with because it has to feel right for both of us,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing that you're explaining, with your future clients. You know, there are people out there that are waiting to work for a heart-centered company. They're
Yeah.
waiting. That's what they're waiting for. And your
Mhm.
paths are going to cross, and the people that aren't really ready, those might be the people that aren't showing up to meetings, and maybe that happened so that you
And
could
the
have that.
universe.
Exactly. So you could have
Mhm.
that sense of awareness to say, well, hold on a second. We've done
Yeah.
that our whole careers. You're in Hollywood. You're in, the industry. Of course, you're chasing jobs. That's what they do there. That's what y'all do
Mhm.
there. So to sit back and allow your clients to find you is going to be a game changer. That's what I do.
It yeah, and it's wonderful because, you know, also one of the things is, you know, I one of the things that motivated me with this is I just was tired of seeing conscious content being created cheesy,
Ah,
you know? And so I'm ready to fix it. Do you guys hear me? I'm ready to fix that. It
you're
drives
doing
me
it, girl. You're
crazy.
doing it
It
in a
drives me
non-cheese
crazy.
way.
Yes, please, please, Lord. You know, it's going to help other people that are on the fence, like actually,
Yeah.
like you know, devour that kind of information. But that's a whole nother topic. Um, but you know what you said with the resistance, it's interesting. You know, I just told you this too. I had just because
Mhm.
I'm still challenged with, you know, not like this year and a half of not having the breaking up. I thought we'd be able to do it as friends, and because I know that things change. Like, look, that this
Yeah.
is another good topic. Like, I believe truly that people like find each other, they grow, they have this amazing experience, and not always is it going to be lifetime. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that those 7 years or 5 years or 10 years or 2 years, 6 months, whatever it is, it doesn't mean it can't be absolutely beautiful while you have it.
Yeah.
And when we started having these issues, that's one of the things I was saying. I was like, look, I get it. Like, if this is time for us to shift into something different, then let's shift into something different.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody knows how to do that, you know, not
Right.
even myself. But my goal was to do this with love and
Yeah.
support, and to transition into a friendship if we weren't going to stay together. Obviously other things happened that we don't need to get into that changed all of that, but that was one of the hard things that happened, that hurt me, that, you know, not only losing your family, your marriage, but my best friend. Losing that friendship was very devastating to me. That was very difficult, you
Well,
know.
and I'm not sure why you don't want to share. So I'll just kind of baseline it. Any
Well,
kind of
we can
deception.
share certain things. I mean, like if there's deception, we can say deception, but I don't want to get into the actual details of the deception.
Yes,
or
and
or like, you know
that's
what I
where I was
mean?
go
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
keep it very surface and just say
Yeah.
anytime that there's no matter what
Just
kind
to
of relation.
honor what we have. Like, I don't want to,
Yeah,
like, I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, and
yep,
I'm here to heal and heal and help others heal, and I want her to heal. I mean,
yeah,
I love her, I always will, and I don't like, this is not this, but being honest is being honest.
yes.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna keep it pretty baseline too,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to say why the friendship avenue or the friendship route didn't really take flight is because there was deception
Hmm.
and um no matter what relationship you're in, even a job relationship,
Oh yeah.
friendship, anything, when there's some deception, it really changes the course of the future of that. So
Yeah.
I will commend you because even through knowing some of the stuff that was happening,
Hmm.
and more importantly, intuitively knowing,
Yeah.
you know,
I
um,
definitely intuitively knew.
by the way, moving forward,
Yeah.
there is no world where if you tell me, Danielle, I'm feeling this, I'm going to sit and go, I believe it,
You always have. Let's just say that you always have, and then you were in a complicated position. This is important for, because if everybody's listening, you were in a complicated position because you weren't only coaching me, you were also coaching her, and so there's difficulties with that, and we were all friends, like, so it gets complicated and weird, and you did what you knew how to do, and there was nothing, like, it was all good. It's all good.
Thank you,
Yeah.
darling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you. And I do successfully work with a lot of couples and I work with lots of family members and, it for some folks can be tricky. For me, historically, it has not been. I build
Yeah.
relationships independently with people. I but for whatever reason, yes, it was tricky. So I appreciate the grace there. But ultimately, my message to you is that I have deep, deep love and adoration because and admiration because you really were trying to go that route, and
Yeah.
that speaks volumes to who you are, you know.
Yeah, and I think I look at things. It's weird for me, for people that have loved each other not to be in each other's lives, even if it takes time down the road. And I'm a very impatient human, so time is very hard for me. I'm getting
You
much,
like to
much,
be in
much
control.
better.
You like to be in control of the
Well,
timing.
I'm learning that I'm not in control of anything, and so I'm a producer. But I don't have the same want or need for control anymore. That's changed likely with me, but still impatience. I have impatience. Like time is hard for me when I'm hurting. It's very
Yeah.
slow and mean. Okay, so we've been talking about resistance, and I, like you said, resistance is ego. And so, because we, like, this all is coming back together now, because we've been talking how I've had a really hard time with attachment and letting go of attachment. And I recently heard on this other podcast that ego creates suffering. I have this written down. Ego creates suffering. The only two relationships the ego can have with anything is attachment or resistance, right? So if it can't have a balanced relationship, because ego always needs something. It needs fulfillment or it avoids pain,
Yeah.
right? And that's everything I've been doing. I've been, when I was going through my darkness, I was avoiding pain. I was drinking. I was, doing all of that kind of stuff. And then, the resistance. I've been resisting not being a part, like having each other a part of our lives. Like, it was really difficult for me. I didn't understand, why can't we? Like, I don't understand why we can't be friends. And then
Mhm.
now that we have taken space, and I haven't, spoke to her in several months now, which is the first time ever.
Yeah.
We all like, I looked back through our texts and I think the longest we ever went through was 3 weeks. So, not speaking for 2 months now but now I'm seeing
Yeah.
all the shit.
Yep.
And I'm going, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I can release some of this ego and release some of this attachment, because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why have I been holding on so long and so tight? And that's a eye opener. That message was a big eye opener for me. And all of us have that ego. And I'm ready to push him down, and
Well,
yeah.
that's one way to do it. You can push them down, or you can just
Or
kind of make
change it.
friend
Yeah.
make friends with your
Yeah.
ego.
Yeah.
I have. It's like it's a part of us, right? Like you said, even in that quote, it's also designed as protection,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so first and foremost, having the awareness and recognizing when the
Mm-hmm.
ego's coming out. Like when mine comes out, I'm like, oh my gosh, hey. It's like I've almost made this friendship with it so that it's less restricting and also less controlling of me,
Right.
and just sort of going, all right, I hear you, I feel you, and just again, that healthy relationship with yourself really kind of eases I think what you were describing, you were going through was almost like that stranglehold, and it eases that. It just kind of makes it more of it's just a part of who I am. It does not lead the way. It's never in the driver's seat. It may jump into the front seat occasionally as a passenger, and
Mm-hmm.
then I throw his ass back, get back in the
Yeah.
back, just go for
Yeah.
the ride. I'm in control. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, in my opinion, with anything, if there's a part of us that we're trying to bury deep down or not give a chance, I think it only makes it grow.
Yeah,
So
I do. Yeah, I didn't. I guess you see, this is what you're so great at. You always change my dialogue, and for the people, like, honestly, you have changed my dialogue to where now I'm changing my friends' dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm lucky that I have friends that actually enjoy that and they want it, because otherwise they'd be like, "What the fuck are you
yeah,
doing?"
yeah, you have to know your
And
audience.
yeah, you got to know your audience. But I'm surrounded by similar folk, even if they're not as deeply into the spiritual realm as I am. But they all have this. So,
Yeah.
but yes, you always change my dialogue, which I love. And you've helped. Like, I can't, like, even when I'm telling you something, you'll go, okay, well, what if it was worded like this? And you'll like re-say it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's way better. Like that. Thank you. Yeah, that feels way better.
What I'm trying to get you in tune with is what you're saying, how that makes you feel. And
Yeah.
if you say something and you're like, it feels fine, there's no need to change it. If
Yeah.
you say it and you're like, and then maybe we reword it, and then I say, how does that feel? Does that feel
Yeah.
different? Yeah, that feels better. Then there you go.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think just for your listeners, I was trying to like help, because a lot of people do that. They try to stuff
Mhm.
down a part of them that they don't like, or they're not proud of, or they feel is controlling of them. They try to push it down. So that's the only reason why I interjected. I know this stuff,
No,
but
but I love your interjections, because I mean, especially even anytime I'm like, we have a lot of really positive conversation that it's growth, right? And
Mhm.
it's moving forward. But when I'm going through a lot of challenges, I'm definitely like blurting out blah 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 blah, and you're like, okay, well, let's I just listened to you, and you'll take certain things that you heard, I'll be like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh, okay, okay, oh okay. But the best thing about it is, that's why, I I would we go from weekly, conversations, weekly life coaching sessions, to then when I'm feeling better, to like every 2 weeks, and when I'm feeling really great and I'm busy, maybe every month. But I have found with you, weekly is fantastic for me, especially with where I'm at in my life right now. For the last year and a half, it's been weekly, if not more. Um, and even as I get healthier and healthier and stronger, I just, there's something there that is a constant support and reminder to, it's a consistent growth for me, because you don't let, I'm getting better at wanting to get away with anything anyways, but you don't let me get away with anything, let me tell you. So
Well, think about it. My position as a coach is to hold someone accountable, right? But
yeah,
not like a I'm gonna whoop,
yeah,
like what are you doing? It's nothing like that. It's just sort of those little nudges to go, hey, does that feel empowering saying that? And you're
yeah,
like, no, okay, well then let's choose words that are actually more in alignment with you standing in your power, right?
yeah.
Um, and I love that you brought this up because I think um, most common,
Denominator, most consistent thing with people. most con-
yeah, the most
the thing that boy, we really are.
total
we speak
double
well.
double
We
brain
speak
part right
real
there.
well. Yeah.
Oh, the most consistent consistency in people that are struggling. How's
Hmm.
that?
There you go.
Would yeah would be their languaging. Dear
Yeah.
gosh, man. I mean, most everyone operates with the don't want mindset,
Hmm.
and I think you just hit the nail on the head. A lot of what I teach, a lot of how I coach, and a lot of how I continue to hold people accountable is how they are using their words,
Yeah.
because words create a feeling. They just do. And then that feeling
Words create
creates
our reality.
well, I was going to say
Words.
then
Yeah.
right, and then those feelings create our reality, and so it's like really like understanding how important it is, so I
Yeah.
appreciate
Just
the
like
little
my
sidebar
arm.
there.
My arm says, "Our thoughts create our reality. What you think you become. Only love is real."
There you go.
You
There
know.
you go. There you
Um,
go. It's
it
beautiful.
is. It is. I mean, even in my head, when I'm going through, because I look, I'm a consistent. I meditate and I do breath work and I do EFT tapping. I'm consistent at all of these things. I journal a lot, but I still, human me is just I struggle. And I struggle with a lot of things, and I don't I don't talk about all of the things I struggle with a lot, but I do. And one of the things I've found that I'm doing in my head, which is pretty funny, is that I'll be going in my head about something. I'll be like, no, 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 you got this, you got this, you got like what? No, 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 no. And so now my whole thing is, if my head's starting to get like crowded, I'll just be like, stop, like I got this, I got this, and that's my like every day. I'm like, no, I got this, I got this.
Wow.
So yeah,
Thank
I'm
you for
just always
sharing.
saying, yeah, I'm just saying, I got this, I got it. So, because we all go through that, like this in here, I feel like I'm pretty kind. I'm pretty kind in here, like
Mhm.
I have it down to where I'm pretty kind. But there's things that I'll start thinking about that are my demons, and even when those demon things come in, I'm like, nope, nope, you're okay. You're okay. These are my choices, and I can make a new choice now. I can make a new choice this minute. I can make a new choice tomorrow. I can constantly change my story. Nothing that I do today that may not feel good with me, I can change that and start something different tomorrow.
That's
And
right.
and I think that's that kind of mindset is important, and it takes time. That goes back to when I was really looking for what my purpose was. My new purpose, my new chapter, my new story was, I was kept, what is my purpose, what is my purpose? And it just, I said, you know what, I don't know, I'm just going to let it come. And it just organically came, and that is serving people, which is funny because it's now, instead of taking the relationship and doing something just for the relationship, I'm serving a grander, people, because that's really important to me, and servicing those who serve others is very important to me. um and that is my purpose.
Mm.
That feels good to me. I don't
Wow.
know how I'm going to do it yet, but this is a beginning.
Sometimes we don't have to know how. I mean, that's that ego again creeping in.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
this part of us that wants to be really controlling and we want to know the hows. And I often will say it's less about knowing how and it's more about just kind of leaning into trusting the timing, and knowing that it's all going to happen. It is all happening,
Yeah.
and that's tough. But it's funny because people go, but oh no, I trust, I trust, I trust. But then when shit's hitting the fan, where's the trust? And I'm saying, hey, when the shit's hitting the fan, that's when you need to trust the most.
Yeah.
It's
I've been
very easy to
trusting.
trust when things are going well. You're like, oh my God, life is wonderful. And yay, I kick ass and you kick ass and we all
Yeah.
kick ass, but it's when shit's hitting the fan, that is when you need to call on your best friend up here
Yeah.
and in here, connect
Yeah.
that and really just be there to support and say, it's okay. I'm trusting this. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
kind of a game
true.
changer.
I've jumped off the cliff my entire career, my whole life. Like I'm somebody that's always taken chances. When I
Mhm.
was a young filmmaker, I was poor for many years of my life because I was like a starving artist. I mean, I
Mhm.
worked jobs and made money, but I was determined. And once I actually started making money in the business, um, I still made big leaps and bounds, but this last one was the biggest I've ever done. Where, I mean, I literally went through all of my savings, all of it, and I didn't care. I was just like, I am going through it. Started pulling money from other places that I had stacked away, and I was like, I'm doing it. I'm changing it because I'm betting on me, and
Yes.
I am going to make a new, and I can always make more money. Always,
Mm.
there's so much more money. And we there like, I put myself into some debt doing all of what I'm doing, but I don't care. And I'm really am trusting all that. I'm trusting so much that I'm just like, I'll go keep jumping off this cliff until I land right. And I feel like I'm finally like landing, so but it is the trust thing. It can be something, but I don't know. I have it. I have it. I always have had it.
I
And
agree.
it plays with me sometimes. I'm not to say like I'm just sitting here pretty, but I've learned how to like not let that stress or that anything come in because worrying about something is just wasted energy. Absolute wasted energy. That you're probably like all you can do is focus on the now, be in the present moment, and move forward, and not sit on the couch. I'm moving forward every day. I am moving forward. I am making things happen, and that is what sooner or later all of it will land and it will all make sense, and it doesn't have to make sense right now,
Yeah.
but I'm not like I'm trusting. I trust because
I
I ain't sitting and stagnant, and I ain't working for nobody else anymore, and I'm not working for no company that is not going to treat me with respect and kindness, and the other people with respect and kindness. What we're doing now is we're building this conscious path content. We're building these podcasts. We're building all of these things to spread love, to spread support, to spread people treating each other in business, in relationships, everything. We're pushing towards love, towards the collective, and we're part of that collective and trying to get that collective to be bigger and bigger and bigger, because your kids, I don't have kids, but your kids and their kids are going to change this world.
yeah. Yeah.
I truly believe that. I believe there's this huge awakening happening with people our age. We've been awakened for a very long time, but there's a lot of people becoming awakened right now. And that's exciting. And the kids are already, these kids are powerful spirit beings, powerful. And I'm very excited to see the next generation and how they're going to do things, because it's going to be a lot different than the way our generation did, the generation before us, because our generation was just trying to get out of all the crazy victimhood of the other generations before us. We're actually a generation of huge change,
Yeah.
and that huge change is now bouncing into the next generations with your daughter and her daughter and blah blah blah. So it's
Yay,
exciting.
Gen X.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I
Oh
agree.
man.
I agree with you. And I feel like just you having this type of platform so that you can reach more people and have an opportunity to, at the comfort of their own home, be a positive support for anybody listening who's ready. I
Yeah.
love that. And I'm so proud of you. And,
Oh.
being able to not only love you as a friend, but yeah, have this deep respect for you as a peer in this industry. And it means a lot to me. So thank you. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank you.
going through your shit storm and rolling around in the crappy diaper for a while, and being dramatic and throwing the poop around, because it led you to here. And
Yeah, it
here is
did.
really good,
Yeah,
and this
it
is just
is.
the beginning for you. I know that. I
It's just
feel
the
that.
beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's just the beginning. Um, I definitely feel that. Okay. So, and thank you. I mean, all of those, I feel the same about you, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you. Like this is like like we've had a journey for a very long time. And when we do our next episode together, we'll talk about how when we met and all of that
Woo.
electricity,
Yeah,
like literally
literally.
electricity. And we'll get into like more depth of those types of things. But to wrap this one up, which it's meant so much to me to have you on, because there's no way I'd feel this comfortable in this position with somebody else than you in this, because you've been part of my whole journey, and you've been one of the biggest supporters, and you already know how much I love you, and you're literally my angel on earth. So
Thank you, baby.
um what I want to wrap this up with a question. Oh no, yeah, I want to wrap this up with a question. And what would you say to somebody that is really going through a hard time right now with heartache? Like what would be, it doesn't have to go long, but what would you say to somebody really in the midst of that pain? What are a few things they could do to help themselves?
First, I'd say I'm sorry. I know it
Yeah.
sucks, man. I know it sucks. I know that what you're feeling right now feels like it's never going to go away, that it's permanent. You may have negative messaging about yourself, and I just want you to know that I'm wrapping a big old energetic hug around you because it is painful, and then after that, I would like to just, encourage you to first and foremost catch those thoughts that are hurting you, and look into podcasts, look into books, look into support with friends, look into family, whoever you can lean into. And if you have nobody else to lean into, I'd encourage you to get in that mirror, and sit with yourself, because honestly, like I was saying before, having that healthy, stable relationship within yourself, you will be able to get through it all. But I do want you to know that it sucks what you're going through right
Yeah,
now,
it does.
and
Yeah.
I want you to know that first, that I'm absolutely saying your feelings are valid, but you will get through this. This will ultimately, promise you, you're going to look in the review mirror in a few years or a few months or a few days. You're going to look back and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I totally had to do that. Like, yeah, this all made sense. I was never supposed to be in that relationship. Whether that the next relationship is your person,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, but there is going to come a time where you look back and reflect and say, I was never supposed to be with that person,
Yeah. Yeah.
and use this as an
Your soul
opportunity.
contract is up.
Yeah. You said
We'll
you said
get
something.
another conversation.
Yeah, but you said something really important on this call that I think I would even encourage repeating, and say to a person, say, not all relationships are supposed to be forever,
No.
right? So,
We're here to love and learn and grow and remember. And those people that we fall in love with have that connection with us, and we're remembering something about ourselves and waking up something inside ourselves in the best moments together. And then in the worst, we have to learn what we're supposed to learn from that lesson, and I truly believe that. Like, I have no idea if I'll have one person for the rest of my life. I don't know, but I know that I will have beautiful relationships, and I always have. I've always really cherished all of the relationships I have had, and eventually I've become friends with every single one of them. So
I'm friends with my ex, my son's dad. We're very close. I love
yeah,
his wife.
yeah,
We're a family. My husband and him get along great. It can
yeah.
happen. It
It
absolutely can.
absolutely,
It absolutely can.
absolutely. Yeah. So I want one thing I want to say at the end of every episode when this is our first. I want to have our each guest host or guest say one book. I know it's hard, but one book you would suggest to the audience that they should get.
I'll just show it to you. I'm not kidding.
I know which one it is.
I know you know.
Yes. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hayes. Louise Hay.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a fabulous book. I agree. Um, and I will say for this time, my one of my books that really changed my life was Many Lives, Many Masters.
Mm-hmm.
By Brian Weiss.
Mm-hmm.
It basically gave me confirmation of everything that I was trying to say in my brain. It just made sense to me, and that was a really powerful book. Um, well, thank you so very, very much. I'm excited to do more, and I can't wait for the next one. I know that we'll be doing many of these together. And thank you with all of my heart for your time and your love and your constant support. I really love and appreciate you, and I thank you for sharing your thoughts with the audience.
I love you, woman. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that. That's how much love.
What was that? That's so funny.
Let's do that
Love, 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 love,
again.
love.
That is how much I love you. They shoot out of my heart.
That's right.
I'm so
So,
proud of you.
where can people find you if they want? Where, like, where we're going to put this in the notes and the transcript, so they'll find you when they come to our YouTube or whatever. But just say where they can find you as well.
I think the best thing to do is to reach out through my email, my work email. Is daily DAILEY lifecoach at gmail.com. All they have to do in the subject line is say that they were listening to your podcast, and I'll know exactly
Great.
I'll know exactly from that. But yes,
Awesome.
I'm very grateful for this.
Yeah. All right, love. Mwah. Thank you
Thank
for everything, and we'll talk
you.
soon.
All right,
Okay.
honey. Bye.
All right. Bye.